Hi everybody, let's talk about commentary. So you should have already watched the videos about our introduction sentences, an example, a lead-in, and a quote. This is the other main event, I would say, of your paragraph, and this is where your commentary comes in. So commentary, if you can't recall back to our first perfect paragraph, is 1 to 2 sentences after your lead-in, quote, and citation. This is where you explain how your quote connects to your thesis or purpose of your overall paper. So after you've given a quote, this is where your own thoughts and ideas and analysis come into play. We do not want you to summarize the quote that you just put in your paper, because after all, we read it. You don't need to tell us what the quote is about, but you need to analyze it and tell us why that quote is important. So, another thing to consider, we want you to avoid saying this quote shows or this quote explains, because most of the time you can just get rid of that saying completely and the main idea of whatever you were going to say after that is still there. Those pieces of this quote shows and this quote explains is informal, and it takes us away from the main purpose of your overall paper. So an example of commentary, I've copy and pasted what the previous slide had mentioned about your lead-in, your quote, and your citation. So if you see here, I've got the blue part, which is our example sentence. So it says, when Eccles is first introduced in this story, he is at Time Safari Incorporated to go back in time to hunt dinosaurs. Then I give you my lead-in, quote, and citation. As he gives his check to the man behind the desk, he asks, "Does this safari guarantee I come back alive?" Bradbury 34. Now, this is where our commentary comes into play. So this is where I'm explaining the importance of the quote that I've chosen. I'm not going to summarize the quote. I'm not going to say what the quote was about, but I am analyzing it and I'm connecting it to the overall main point of my paper. So I say, even before going back in time and facing the dinosaur, Eccles shows himself to be afraid. As the story unfolds, this fear will lead to Eccles' demise. So just looking at this commentary, I do not start off by saying this quote shows Eccles going back in time or wondering about it, but it does explain how Eccles is feeling in that moment, and then connecting it to the overall purpose of the paper, which I can tell in this commentary is about his fear. So that conflict, that internal conflict. And that's it for commentary. Continue on, and you can learn about conclusion sentences.